All right, so good evening, everybody. Hey, how are you? It's great to see you. It's great to be back here, Mussar Mondays. And we're going to continue Vigilance Part 3. I believe we're Part 3. And what we see, we discussed this last week, is that the Yetzer Hara has a special tactic. And that tactic is keep you busy. Stay busy so that you don't have time to think. It's almost like in our American culture, we have so much to be busy with. We have our smartphones, we have sports, we have news, we have politics, we have just endless things to be busy with. Or if you want the Green New Deal, whatever it is, if you want to be busy with something, there's a lot to be busy with. Okay, so you get to keep you distracted. Just don't focus on how to be a better person. Just don't focus on how to be right. And that's like what Pharaoh schemed. And that's where we're up to here on page 48 in the Art Scroll edition of the Mesilat Yesharim, the Way of the Upright. And this is similar to the plan that Pharaoh, the wicked king of Egypt, who said, as it says, when Moses and Aaron appeared before him to petition for the release of the Israelites, Tichbad ha'avodah al anashim. What was his response? He says, let the work be heavier upon the men, and let them not pay attention to false words. For Pharaoh intended not to leave the Israelites with any time at all, so that they should not be able to even consider rebellion or formulate a plot against him. Time is very, very precious. The most precious commodity we have in this world is time, not money. There's nothing more valuable in this world than time. And what Pharaoh was saying, don't give them time. Because the minute the Jewish people have time, what are they going to do? They'll scheme against him and overtake him and find a way to overpower the whole Egyptian government. Don't give them a minute. Let them build buildings that are sinking. They had free labor for 210 years. They can build everything. Every highway will be fixed. You'll have it, gold-studded highways. Because you had more laborers, 3.2 million workers, free. With no limitations. For 210 years. Imagine how many work hours that is. And keep them busy till they're falling apart. Ramchal tells us that that's the scheme of the Yetzer Hara. That's what the Yetzer Hara wants to do. The Yetzer Hara wants us to be so busy, we don't even have time to think. We don't have time to think whether or not we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Whether or not we're going in the ways of Hashem or not. Whether we're being nice to our fellow. Whether we're fulfilling our mission. One of the things they do in corporations is that they have annual meetings, they have monthly meetings, they have weekly meetings, and they have daily meetings. The idea is that every day you plan out what are you doing to reach the weekly meeting, the weekly agenda, the weekly vision. And what are you doing every week to make sure you're getting to the monthly vision and fulfilling it? And every month, whether or not you're filling the vision that you need for the yearly. And that's really how we start our day every morning. The idea, the way we start our morning, is whether or not we're fulfilling our mission. We have every Shabbos as a time to reevaluate. Every month, Rosh Chodesh is a time to reevaluate. And then every year we have Rosh Hashanah. And then we have every 7 years. We have the Shemitah, the sabbatical year, where the sabbatical year was, its objective, why God gave it to us according to many of the commentaries, was to evaluate our relationship. And see, one second, maybe we're spending too much time in our career, planting and doing everything that we need for our fields, and not doing everything we need for our relationship with the Almighty. It's a time to evaluate. That is what, and then we had every 50 years. Which is the Jubilee. Another time to evaluate. We need to stop and take time out every single day. We need to stop and take time out every single week and every month and every year and every few years to evaluate, is this the Jew I want to be? Is this the person I want to be? Is this the husband I want to be? Is this the child I want to be? And to evaluate whether or not we're taking the proper steps to get us to that destination that we would like to be at. This is precisely the strategy of the Yetzer Hara that the Yetzer Hara employs against people. For the Yetzer Hara is a great warrior experienced in cunning. And it is impossible to escape from the Yetzer Hara. Except through much wisdom and great foresight. That means if we don't employ great aggressive measures to beat up against our Yetzer Hara, then we lost. Yes.
Does everybody have the same Shemitah year? If you plant 1 year or you plant 7 years ago?
Everybody had the same Shemitah year.
So if you planted 2 years ago, you have the same as the guy that planted 7 years
That's
ago?
correct.
Okay.
Right? Everyone gets onto the same cycle. Everyone gets onto the same routine. Any other questions before we continue? No? Okay. So the idea here is that he says except through much wisdom and great foresight. We need to plan our lives understanding that we're going to have a Yetzer Hara. I'll give you an example. Anybody here on a diet? Right? You're on a diet, so you have a goal, right? What's the goal? The goal is not just you want to be more careful, because that doesn't last. That doesn't work. What do you want to do? You want to actually set a goal. Like in 2 months, I want to be 10 pounds or 20 pounds, however many pounds you want to lose, right? So that's not enough to just say, okay, I'm going to weigh myself at the beginning, I'll weigh myself at the end. Rather, what you do is you have a daily accounting, and then you have a weekly accounting, you have a monthly accounting, to make sure that you're staying on course. Because if you just leave it for till the end, you could be gaining weight instead of losing weight. You have to take an accounting. Am I heading in the right direction? The Yetzer Hara is telling us that with each and every one of us, in our personal growth, in our avodah, in order for us to properly grow, we need to constantly be taking an accounting of the soul. We constantly need to evaluate, are we heading in the right direction or not? Maybe what I think is the right thing is the wrong thing. We'll evaluate it. Maybe, maybe not. Right? Every person needs to think and understand, what is my goal? What do I want to accomplish? And how am I going to get there? And am I taking the proper steps, the proper measures to help me in my objective? It's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with everything in life. It's no different when we're trying to fight our Yetzer Hara with any other thing. No different. Right? Any other goal that a person has, any goal, needs to have this system of how we're going to employ all of our resources to get there. We have it, again, we said in business, the corporate world, you have this. You have this in your personal life. If you're trying to get on a diet, if you're trying to make money, you're trying to get an advance in your job, right? What measures are you taking? What are the steps you're taking to get there? You don't just land one day at success. And no sage ever woke up in the morning and said, okay, today I'm going to be the sage, right? It took many, many years of working on themselves and waking up every morning and figuring out a way for today to be the greatest day ever. And the next day to do the same. And you know what? And they reevaluate, what mistakes did I make yesterday? Maybe I should have been kinder to someone else. Maybe I should have been more patient to someone else. Maybe I should have been, maybe I should have said something that complimented someone else. Taking that evaluation every single day and not letting the Yetzer Hara just overwhelm us with busyness. Because that's his tactic. His tactic is keep people busy so they don't think. Right? It's a big problem. Ramchal cites scriptural verses and a Talmudic teaching that serve as a basis for the principle he has established in this chapter. This is what the prophet means when he decries out and says in Chagai, Simu levavchem al darchechem, set your minds upon your ways. Ushlam arba b'chachmaso, and King Solomon too stated in his great wisdom, Al titein shenolei nechos nu'alaf hapecha, give not sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Hinatzel kitzvi miyad, escape like a deer from the hunter's hand, and like a bird from the grip of a snare. And our sages of blessed memory said, Amru, Kol whoever appraises, Hasham, whoever evaluates and appraises his ways in this world, will merit to witness the salvation of the Holy One, blessed is He. So that's, the Talmud says that in Moed Katan, we see from King Solomon, we see from the prophets, proofs to this idea, where we constantly need to evaluate, we need to look and make sure that we're staying on course. I mean, there's no project in the world that can be accomplished without this. Every project that you can ever think of needed to have a step-by-step process to make sure, right? You ran dinners, right? You have 6 months out or 8 months out, and you have 7 months, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, 3 months. Then you have week by week, making sure that everything leads up to that final goal. And then you have the day of. You have every minute almost calculated. What am I doing today? What am I doing now? What am I doing this hour and that hour? Making sure that everything gets to the right location, gets to the right place, gets to right. You have to make sure that everything is on that calendar. What's if a good old friend calls you up a week before and says, hey, maybe you want to get together next week, we'll go on vacation? What do you tell him?
I'm committed.
I'm sorry, I got things I got to do. I don't have time. It's a week before my big event. I can't go on vacation now. That's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara every day. If we're not focused with our objective, what we need to accomplish, he sends us all these exciting things to distract us. All of these. Suddenly you have this friend call you, that friend call you. Hey, you want to go on vacation? Hey, you want to do this? You want to go here, go there? Right? Just to distract you from reaching your goal. And that's what we have to pay attention to. We have to be people who are driven, people who are on a mission. Ramchal elaborates on the concept that one who appraises his ways will merit Hashem's salvation. It is obvious that even if a person carefully monitors himself and analyzes his ways, it is not within his power to save himself from the wiles of the evil inclination, unless the Holy One, blessed is He, aids him. It means we don't have the ability to successfully avoid the Yetzer Hara's distractions unless the Almighty saves us from it. Unless our Creator buds in and saves us. Ki Yetzer Hara takif mod, because the Yetzer Hara is very, very powerful. Uchema'amar HaKatuv, as it says in Psalms, Sofer Rasha leTzadik u'mavakesh la'amito. The wicked one lies in wait for the righteous one and seeks to kill him. Who's the wicked one? Who's the wicked one? The Yetzer Hara. Who's the righteous? Us. Right? We're the righteous. You know, it's very interesting. A verse says, "Ve'ameich kulam tzadikim," and your nation is all righteous. Who is that referring to? It's referring to each and every one of us. Right? Every single one of us, every single Jew is a tzaddik. Va'amech kulam tzaddikim. We're all righteous. Yeah, it happens to be sometimes righteous make mistakes. Sometimes, sadly, we make mistakes. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the person is righteous. And we have to keep that in mind. Hashem believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. He calls us a tzaddik. He calls us a righteous. He says, listen, you're my favorite people on earth. You're my beloved. You're my chosen. I said, me? Who am I? I'm a nobody. No. You're a somebody. God believes in you as a tzaddik. That's, by the way, one of the tactics that that the Yetzer Hara employs as well. He convinces you that I mentioned that. I don't know if I mentioned the story. I just had this last week. Yeah, it was after this class, but I had last week. I was at an event for young adults, part of our TORCH young adult division, and I met an Israeli guy, very nice, recently religious, if at all, but recently involved in growth. And he asked me, he says, tell me, do you need tzitzit? Tzitzit is a mitzvah to wear on every four-cornered garment, to wear tzitzit, to wear fringes. She says, do you need tzitzit? Any of your students want tzitzit? If anybody here wants to try tzitzit, let me know. And this individual, I'll tell you what he does. See, he said to me, as I said, yes, actually I do. I have a dear friend who's actually sitting here in the class. He wanted to try to wear tzitzit. And I said, he asked me what size. I told him what size. And he said, no problem, I'll deliver it tomorrow. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, I have a friend of mine back in Israel who passed away. And I'm doing it in his memory. I'm giving out tzitzit so people do this mitzvah in memory of my dear friend. It was really beautiful. There's another individual standing right next to us. And that individual said, you know what, maybe I'll do it as well. And we're getting into this conversation of what size he is, because he's a really skinny guy, really, so he says, you know what, forget it. Don't give me tzitzit. He says, why not? He says, because, I don't always do the right thing. I don't always eat kosher. I don't always say nice things. I sometimes use some foul language. I can't wear tzitzit and do these things. Right? And it's a beautiful purity. I'm telling you, God smiled when he heard that. It's a beautiful holiness and a purity that this individual displayed. Of course, he's wrong. But the idea that we need to be pristine, that's not true. We have to be in a trajectory towards pristineliness, towards holiness, towards purity. But to say that we can only do a mitzvah if we got it all perfect, that's patently false. That's not what Judaism is all about. Judaism is about taking a step. A step. What step are you taking today that you didn't take yesterday? It doesn't say jump. Take a step. Just recently, or just last week, we had a trip to Kentucky. A fabulous trip. Actually, right now, last week, I was in the woods, someplace out in Kentucky, and we were on a hiking trail. And it was really, the only warning they said is that just be careful. There are copperheads here. So just stay on the trail, because if you go off, you might just get bitten and die. It's fine. But otherwise, there's nothing to fear. So you can imagine everyone's like, "Whoa, I can't get off the trail." But either way, so we're on the trail, and we one of the things that we realized, some of the areas were a little bit slippery. A little bit. And what we realized, and I thought this was a great idea, a great concept in Judaism, is that you cannot take your next step till your current step is firm. You wait till your foot is firm, it's not slippery, then you can take your next step. When that foot is firm, then you can take the next step, and so on and so forth. That's the way our spiritual growth needs to work. You don't jump, you can't run up, it's slippery. You'll fall down, you break your head, God forbid. So what do? You make sure. You plant your feet firmly. It's secure. You can take your next step. It's secure. You take your next step. In our spiritual growth, it needs to be the same way. You can't say, you know what? I'm not going to drive anymore on Shabbos. I'm not going to eat any more cheeseburgers. I'm not going to this. I'm not going to that. Because you know what that is? That's taking too many steps on a slippery slope. You'll fall. You take one step, small step. It's firm. Now you can take the next step. And sometimes it can take a week, it can take a month, it can take a year, till the positioning is firm in our spiritual growth, and we can take the next step. We don't rush, but we always need to be in an incline of spiritual growth. Never saying, you know what, I'm fine. Just leave me the way I am. I'm fine. What step am I taking to become a better person today than I was yesterday? That is our goal. God knows we're not all perfect. The Jews weren't all perfect at Mount Sinai, and the Jews weren't all perfect in the desert, and the Jews weren't all perfect in the land of Israel, and the Jews aren't all perfect today. Aside from my wife, I don't know anybody who's perfect. Okay, what time was that on the clock?
No, she's not watching.
I can tell her. 28 minutes in, you can go look. Yeah. All right. So
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. That's right. But otherwise, who's perfect? Who's perfect? But the only way to reach that perfection that we are capable of is when we take one firm step after the other, and not try to jump, and not try to, it's very dangerous and it's slippery. It's a very slippery slope. But that's what the Yetzer Hara tries to tell us. He tries to tell you, he says, come on, who are you kidding? You really? You're trying to not eat bread on Pesach? Really? Who are you kidding? We all know you'll eat a cheeseburger tomorrow. Come on, you're trying to be Mr. Righteous, Mr. Holy. We all know, right? You really care that much about kosher? You're going to start eating matzah, really? Right? It's like, and the Yetzer Hara tries to play with us. You know what? I'm not gonna be. What people say, like, I want to be a person of truth, and everyone has their own truth. You know all that spiel, right? You're familiar with that, right? So the Yetzer Hara tries to convince us, don't try to be so righteous, don't try to be so holy when you're not. And what's the truth that God tells us? You are. You just may not be there yet. So take one step, because that one step will lead to the next step, which will lead to the next step. Yeah, you know what? I know many people who are not yet Shomer Shabbos. They're not yet Shomer Shabbos. I don't know anybody who's not Shomer Shabbos. It's not for me. So you take a step. Take one step. Right? No one said that a person has to, in one day, change their whole life to put on tefillin every day. We try. Maybe it's just Sunday mornings. Maybe it's just Monday mornings. Maybe it's just Tuesday mornings. But pick a day. Do one day. You'll see, you know what? It's not so difficult. Maybe once it's firm, then I can take on another day. Once that's firm, you can take on another day. But to try to do everything to become a perfect Jew overnight, there's nobody like that. I don't know anybody who's perfect. But we have to strive to reach perfection. And that's what the Yetzer Hara is trying to do, is get us busy so we can't even focus on that. Who has time to think about it? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Who cares? Just be a good person. Don't hurt anybody. Save the whales and donate to Planned Parenthood, and you're good to go, right? Right? That's what many people think. As long as I don't do any harm. That's not necessarily true. It may make you feel good for a minute. It's not necessarily true. We have to be very, very careful about it. I have to be careful not to lose sight of what we're trying to accomplish in our world as a Jew. What we're trying to accomplish as growing human beings. We're trying to grow. Take a step. What's that one step that you can take? And you know what? Let it be so small that it's laughable. It's fine. Because Judaism's not all or nothing. And let nobody tell you that. If you don't do everything, you can't do anything. Do something. Make that something special. Because that something will become something more. And something more on that more. Take a step. A firm step. You had a question? Eric?
Oh, no.
No? You good? Okay, so, however, this does not absolve us from the obligation of self-analysis. If a person monitors himself so that he will not fall into sin, az HaKadosh Baruch Hu ozoro. Then, and only then, the Holy One, blessed is He, aids him. V'nitzol minei Yetzer Hara, and he is saved from the Yetzer Hara. Aval im eino mefakech hu al atzmo, but if he does not monitor himself, v'adai sha'akadosh baruch hu lo yifakech alav, then the Holy One, if a person doesn't monitor himself, then certainly the Almighty will not monitor him so that he not fall into sin. Meaning, if you don't work to try to help yourself, no one's going to try to help you. If you at least try, there's a chance. Ki im hu eno chas, for if he does not care about himself, mi yachus alav, who should care about him? V'hu ki inyan ma she'amru rabbeinu zichrono livracha. This is what our sages tell us. Kol mi she'ein bo de'ah, anyone who does not possess discernment, wisdom, intellect, asul rachem alav, it is forbidden to have mercy on him. V'hu ma she'amru, and this is also what it means when the sages tell us in Ethics of Our Fathers, im ein anili mili. If I am not for myself, who is for me? The Mishnah reaffirms this idea. You need to take the best and start by taking a step for yourself. The first step in your own personal growth is know that you're the only one responsible. You're not going to be able to blame your congregational rabbi, and you're not going to be able to blame your parents and your friends and your neighbors and your siblings, and people can blame everybody in the world for why they aren't a better person. My wife now doesn't give me time, I'm busy with my job. We have all the excuses in the world. If a person doesn't invest themselves, im ein anili mili, who's going to worry for me? Everybody's got their own worries to worry about. If you don't worry for yourself, no one's going to worry for you. No one's going to have the ability, the time, or the resources to assist someone who doesn't want to grow. The person doesn't want to grow, what's there to help them with? Nothing to do. That's our responsibility. Our responsibility is to say, you know what, I'm in charge. I'm the boss of my own life, of my own fate. And I'm going to take care of myself and make sure that I become the best person I can become. That's our responsibility. And no one is going to do it for us. So what our sages say here, if you don't care for yourself, the Almighty is not going to do it for you. You know, we have the same idea when it comes to the principles of tshuva, repentance. We say, from one standpoint, it says, Shuva elai v'ashuva lechem, return to me and I will return to you. In other area, it says, Hashivenu avinu l'toratecha, right? V'achzirenu b'tshuva shlema lefanacha. God, return us to you. One second, is it our job? Shuva elai? Return to me and I return to you? Meaning you have to take the first step? Or is it that we ask God, God, you return us to you, to your ways. Return us to your ways. Whose job is it? Is it our job or God's job? Our sages tell us it's our job to start. We need to begin. We need to start. And only after we start, then Hashem is there to take us the next step. And we'll always find that someone who starts keeping kosher, right? Someone starts keeping kosher. You know the first challenge you're going to have, keeping kosher? You're going to get invited by a friend who doesn't keep kosher. Now what do? You're going to start a diet. You're going to start a diet, and what are you going to do? What's going to be your first challenge starting that diet? Your friend invites you to lunch. Come with me to Genesis. Right? What are you going to do then? Right? Or for ice cream. Right? How are you going to be? What are you going to do to maintain, to make sure that you are standing firm? You're always going to have something that comes up to distract you from your ways. You'll always have something that tries to divert your attention, or to say, you know what, you're not really responsible for that. Leave it alone. It's much bigger than you. Who do you think you are? We're all simple people anyway. Don't try to be holier than all of us. And we have constantly these Yetzer Hara statements that come and bother us time and again, not allowing us to take our next step in our growth, and in fact, deflating us. And saying, you know what? It's good. It was well intentioned, but it's not for me. It's just not for me. It really is an incredible challenge that we all face to make make a plan of our own personal growth and sticking to it. And ensuring that we don't let go, and we don't let ourselves be distracted, and we don't give room for the Yetzer Hara to create a crack, to create a wedge between us and our mission. And this is the number one challenge we all face. So that's why it's the first chapter after the introductory chapter of Ramchal. He's going to give us the tools in the coming chapters of how to pay attention to this and how to notice it and how to combat it. But the first thing is we need to realize and recognize that this is the reality. The reality is, you know why people are so busy? That's the Yetzer Hara telling you, I don't want you to grow. I don't want you to succeed. That's why. And that's our battle. That's our struggle. Our struggle to stay on course. So just as a summary here, the first step in directing one's life toward becoming closer to Hashem, the goal discussed in chapter 1 is to train oneself to think about his general approach to life and his day-to-day actions. This vital self-analysis is the essence of the trait of Zihirut, vigilance, the first rung in what Rav Pinchas ben Yair's ladder to spiritual heights. That's the first rung. The primary obstacle in this endeavor is the Yetzer Hara's attempt to submerge everyone in relentless daily routine, which robs a person of the opportunity for introspection. If one has the wisdom and foresight to break routine and engage in this simple exercise, he merits divine assistance in his goal of overcoming the Yetzer Hara. In subsequent chapters, Ramchal will provide some tools to aid in acquiring this all-important trait. So, as a summary to the summary, what we see here in chapter number 2 is that our goal of becoming closer to Hashem is always going to be challenged by being busy. Preoccupation in something else. Pharaoh tried this on us. He said they should make the work more difficult for them so that they don't have any time, so that they can't think, so that they can't. Just keep them busy, keep them busy, keep them busy. Don't relent. Don't let go. So that the Jews don't have time. What happens if they have time? They break away and rebel. They'll rebel against this slavery, and then they can serve Hashem. They'll figure out a ploy, they'll figure out a tactic. We can't allow ourselves, we're all in a Mitzrayim, we're all in an Egypt, a slavery of sorts. We all have distractions. We have to carve out time to evaluate. Am I heading in the right direction? Am I on the course I'm supposed to be in? And take the time to come up with conclusions and solutions to how we maintain our status as growing Jews. And not letting ourselves be distracted by it. Okay? We're going to move on to chapter number 3. Is there any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been thinking about what we've been discussing here, and I'm wondering, rather than saying, okay, from 3 to 5, from 3 to 4, I will sit down and I will contemplate, shouldn't, as we go through our day and things come up, shouldn't we at that time be questioning ourselves, have I done that right? Is this leading me forward to being a better Jew, or did I do something in spite of the fact that I know that I shouldn't have done? I mean, shouldn't that be become an instantaneous part of our personality, that we're always checking ourselves over and over again as we go through the day?
Absolutely. So we see our sages tell us a couple of things on this matter. Number one is that a person should always be evaluating his actions. It says that a person should always reevaluate at the end of every day, think over the whole day, replay the tape, right? Rewind, and you become the Monday morning quarterback every night, right, of your day. And you reevaluate, 1 second, maybe I could have gotten up a little quicker from bed. maybe I could have prayed a little bit more with intention. Maybe I could have focused more in that class or in that meeting. Maybe I could have been nicer to that person. Maybe I could have been a little kinder. Maybe I could have helped out. Maybe I could have donated. Maybe I could have volunteered some time. Maybe I could have learned more. Maybe I shouldn't have watched that. That's a question a person needs to ask at every step of the way. Every single night. A person needs to ask themselves, am I maximizing my own life? My own potential? That's our responsibility. So you're right. Yes, we should. We should have micro, and this is what we discussed earlier, is that every company has annual meetings, we have quarterly meetings, you have monthly meetings, you have weekly meetings, you have daily meetings to see, are you on course with your goals? Are you going to be able to meet your end goal, your end desire, if you don't focus every day, if you don't focus every week and every month on the results? And if you read any of the leadership books, books on leadership, I'm reading actually a fantastic book now about leadership, that's one of the things that they constantly mention, is to always be checking whether or not you're meeting your goals. Are you on course? Did you go off? Because if you continue when you're off, right, so if your target is straight ahead, then you start turning off, and you continue that course, you go further and further away from your target. Yeah. So you got to constantly evaluate. If I go off, I'll get back on right away. But if you wait and then try, it's a much more challenging return to the course. Very important. You can think of it in any sport. You can think of it in anything, right? You play golf and you hit it the wrong direction, right? Is it going to be much more difficult for you to get that par? Obviously, yeah. Right? You thought you went the wrong direction. Well, in life it's the same thing. In our spirituality it's the same thing, right? Yeah, you may not be perfect, but we'll try, and eventually we reach our perfection. I'm gonna put someone on the spot here, okay? Okay, you ready, Scotty? I'm gonna put you on the spot. So we have here an incredible participant in our class who's been making the journey of dramatic change in his life, all right? For already a long time, many months, almost several years. And can you tell me, over the past couple of months, you've been coming to synagogue on a regular basis. Have you, at the beginning, were you completely overwhelmed?
Yes.
Has that overwhelmingness disappeared already by now?
Yes.
Do you feel much more comfortable with the daily prayers, understanding and knowing where the chazan's at, knowing what we're saying?
Absolutely.
How did that happen? It didn't happen overnight. It happened after once, and after another, and after another, after another. Eventually, we adapt to it. The problem is sometimes we're not ready to break out of our comfort zone. This is what I'm comfortable with. As a 6-year-old, I was comfortable, or this is what I was taught, and I'm not going to change it. This is what my observance of Shabbat was when I was a 6-year-old, so I'm going to keep it that way. Or we can decide to change a little bit, adjust and modify it. And it's, by the way, it's not only someone who grew up in a secular lifestyle becoming religious, right? It's even someone who grew up religious becoming more meaningful. And that's no less a problem. It's no less a problem for someone who grew up with certain habits that really don't mean much because they've been just a habit since they were born. So the same 6-year-old habits as a 6-year-old, they got as a religious Jew. Okay, so does that mean that they have meaning? So they may say blessings. Does it mean they know what they're saying? Does it mean they know who they're talking to? Does it mean that when they walk into synagogue, they know that they're actually in a synagogue? And they feel the sanctity and the holiness? No, not necessarily. It takes work on every level. So there's no one who say, well, you have it easy because you grew up religious. No, that's not true. They have just as much work, if not more work, to make it meaningful. On the contrary, I remember when I was I'm not going to say where this is because sometimes I know those people watch these videos, so I'm not going to mention where it was. But I remember I was once somewhere, I'm going to call it any town in the USA, and I was there for a summer program, and I met this family. It was really an incredible family, an amazing family. You know why? Because I got there on Wednesday, and their Shabbos table was set already. And on Thursday, like they were like everything was cooked already for Shabbos. And it was like Friday afternoon, they're sitting and waiting for Shabbos. And I went to my room, I started crying. I'm like, I've never had a Shabbos like that in my life. They were still new to Shabbos, and they were so excited. It's like Wednesday, the anticipation. Thursday, the anticipation was even greater. Friday, they couldn't wait for Shabbos to come. They were so excited for Shabbos. They had the appreciation and then the observance. Many people have the observance, don't have the appreciation necessarily. That's a whole nother work. But everyone has the same challenge of, one second, what am I going to do? I'm not comfortable with that. That's not who I am. That's not where I am. Take a small step. Because that one small step, and you'll be discouraged. There'll be times where you'll say, you know what? It's just not working out. It's just not. And that's your breaking point. Because the minute you pass that, now you're free to go. Now it's easy. So the Yetzer Hara, it's like anybody here who's ever done exercise. Right? Do you ever get to that point you're like, no more, I'm done. Right? Jog one more mile. When you jog that one more mile, that's when you're losing the weight. That's when you're burning pure fat. That's when you're winning. Right? But the Yetzer Hara turns up the challenge so high that you're like, I just want to just throw in the towel, I'm done. Right? No more laps. So yesterday, I was doing laps with my swimming chavruta. I have a study partner. We go swimming to challenge ourselves and to become healthier and hopefully lose some weight. But it's good to work with someone who has, because you want to stop, and just as you want to stop, they're like getting into it. They're like, let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Another lap, let's go. Right? And it really is an amazing thing. And I was like, okay, I'm done. He said, okay, just three more, because we're going to make it to 26 laps. Let's make it to 26 laps. Just three more. Right? I'm like, okay, I got three more. He says, okay, just one more. Right? It's like just pushing me one more. You think we could do one more? Right? So we do one more, and then it's like, okay, we're already here. We might as well do another one, right? Right? And right? But the truth is that, sometimes we have this certain block or this certain challenge, and that doesn't allow us to even imagine that there's an ability for us to push ourselves beyond what we're comfortable. And that's where the gold is. The gold is when we push ourselves beyond what we feel comfortable. It's an exercise to practice. I don't know if I mentioned this, but many of you know I love technology. I'm a big fan of technology. You don't have to be addicted to it, and that's the danger, is to be addicted to technology. And I try to put it aside. In fact, I was surprised at how little I used my phone today. Maybe 4 minutes till like 6 o'clock. It was like very, very, very brief. Because I was busy working, meetings, talking this, that, planning, and I didn't have time at all. So when I got my new phone right before Pesach, and one of my friends teased me. He says, "Yeah, good luck cleaning for Pesach. You're going to be setting up your phone for the next 2 days." So I actually told him that I was so excited about my new phone that I decided I wasn't going to open it till after Pesach. Right? And it was because I felt I'm so excited about this that let me push myself to withstand it. I really want to open it, so I'm not gonna. You get that package from Amazon, you're really excited to open it? You know what, I'll open it tomorrow. You know why? Just because. But the truth is there's a benefit of learning on insignificant things to learn self-control. It's very important. Because when you learn self-control in small things, even if it's, we talked about this in our Chumash class Thursday morning, just last week's portion about Kedoshim to you, to be holy, to be sanctified. So they brought in a whole midrash about leaving over a little bit of the food that you have on your plate. There's a whole idea of leaving over. Everyone wants to finish up the last food. It's like, leave something over. Right? Leave it over just so that you can overcome your little weakness and your little. You can leave it on your plate. Just a teeny drop. Leave a little bit of food on your plate. So I don't remember what was I saying. All right, either way. Now what?
Self-control, last Thursday morning's class.
Oh, right. So we were talking about the importance of leaving over a little bit. Just a little bit of self-control. So what's the benefit of this? The benefit is that you're strengthening your muscles. So you have an impulse to get angry. You're at the bank and you're waiting for someone. The person in front of you is taking them a half hour. What takes a half hour? You're at the move it, let's go, right? Or you're at the checkout counter, right? And the person in front of you is like they have to take out everything from their bag, right? It's the express checkout. And they have to take everything out of the bag, right, to find their credit card, so that they can charge. And it's like, this is supposed to be an express lane. It turns out I could have gone into the long lane and been out already 10 minutes ago, right? It's like, but you know what? The more you practice self-control in other areas, the more you're strengthening that muscle of self-control in areas that are going to be important. So you know what? You're going to be hungry 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you smell. Is that Burger King? It smells delicious, right? Should I go an extra 5 miles to the kosher restaurant, or should I just stop here by Papacitos and pick up you know what? How strong is that muscle? Is that muscle strong enough from the small, insignificant things, so when it's something which is a real challenge, you have that muscle that you can overcome? It's a very important thing. And it's a tool that our sages tell us the more we're able to overcome on small things. You have a cup in front of you, right? You want to take a sip, right? What happens if you take, you know what? I'm going to wait another 20 seconds, and then I'll take my sip. So, it's worth it.
You're in control.
But you're in control, exactly. Someone told me that they actually did a study, but we've been talking about it here for many, many times, about they told people, drive home a different route. Right? How many times have we said it? Drive home a different route. You come here, every time you come here the same street, you make the same right, the same left, at the same light, the same routine. You know what? One day, turn a different block. Make a right on a different block. Go a different way. Why? Just because you're in charge. That's the only reason.
And you have to think to do that.
Exactly. Not to be in habit, not to be in routine. Break the routine, yes.
I was going to say, it's another great habit. Actually, it's almost anywhere you go. Right now, almost everybody has their phone out in front of them.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I have my phone out right in front of me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, just by sitting there, you can hear the Yesharim saying, check to see something.
Any messages, any something.
Check to see something.
That's
where
right.
So it's right there. I just happen to look up here, and you see it. And I actually feel.
You know what? I think there's a great opportunity here for a great app. A great app where it only checks, because you know what push notifications are, right? So your email checks every 10 seconds. It checks, is there a new email? Is there a new email, right? But what's if you change the setting? Then it only checks every 10 minutes or every half hour. So you only get bothered on the half hour. You have the rest of the 29 minutes to not worry about it and to not be busy with it. So you don't have to be bombarded at all times. It only checks every 30 minutes. Great app, no? You like that? You don't like it?
No, because
David doesn't like. David wants it constant.
No, but I think you would spend the next half hour trying to answer what you didn't do in 5 minutes. That's the problem.
Yeah, but the problem is we're living in a world that's so distracted and preoccupied with their phones and with notifications. I get notifications from things I don't even know that I even have. It's like, do you know that the Denver Nuggets? Who cares about the Denver Nuggets? My goodness, right? How did it even get to my phone? Right? It's like
Spam.
Yeah, but it's coming to my notifications. So the idea is that's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is trying to keep us busy all the time. Keep us busy, and we don't even realize that we're falling prey to the Yetzer Hara. He puts this net out in front of us, hoping we fall right into it. And every time exactly, yeah.
I had my phone out. I challenged myself.
That's great. That's great. You know, my phone actually has a great.
If I turn mine over.
My son taught me a new thing. My son taught me that there's a feature on my phone. It's called flip to shh. Basically, if you flip it on its head, it puts it into silent mode.
Yeah.
So you don't get any notifications, you don't get any calls. It's a new function. It's a new feature,
My phone doesn't
right?
do that.
It's flip it, and it automatically it'll go into well, it won't work in yours, but yeah.
Hibernation mode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing. You just turn it over and it's done. But we shouldn't even need that. Can we leave it in our cars? Can we leave it at home? Oh, we leave without it. I'll tell you that I remember I once left home. I was flying to New York in the summer. I go for a week, about a week. I would go to New York to be with my family because my wife and children are there. One time I left and I forgot my phone at the house. And you know what? It was the most remarkable week. It was the most remarkable week without the phone.
You didn't even have to talk to your family.
No, I was there with my family. I didn't need, right? I was there in New York with my family, with my children, no phone. No, so you need to work.
How many times did you borrow someone else's phone?
Well, you know what I did?
I don't think I did actually, but it's an exercise.
I left for Corpus, got to Sugar Land, I'm 30 minutes out of the city. I realized I didn't have my phone. I had to drive back to, because that would have been 8 hours without a phone. I couldn't deal with it.
God forbid, right? If we are 8 hours without our
I would
phone.
have left my wallet at home.
Right.
You know what's funny too?
Sure.
If you go to a restaurant,
Yeah.
it's kosher, right? And we're,
Of course.
and we're sitting there, every single person in the restaurant
Is on their phone. It's a terrible
Every
thing.
single.
Again, it's the new form of Yetzer Hara. Yeah, it's a great tool for work and it's a great tool for productivity, but it's also a phenomenal tool of the Yetzer Hara to distract us. And we have to be so careful not to fall prey to this Yetzer Hara.
I'm sorry.
Right? It's not. I'm not beating up on phones. I'm just stating that the Yetzer Hara has new ways. We think, oh, only in the olden days they could distract people. No, today too, Yetzer Hara has plenty of tools to his disposal, keeping us busy and not focusing on ourselves. All right, we're going to end the Mussar Monday class now. We're going to take a 3-minute break. If you want to take a coffee, a espresso, if you want to get some snacks, some M&Ms, always at the Torch Center available.
One question, getting back to...
Blazing fast Wi-Fi, yes.
Getting back to where you said leave a little on your plate.
Right.
Isn't waste... Isn't
Right,
it
so our
the same
Seder